Hello, friends, and welcome to Not Just a Girl, your friendly feminist tattoo podcast. I'm Eddy, and I'm back to share with you the thoughts and experience of some of my favourite people in tattooing. On the 12th episode, and the last of the season, we'll be talking about tattoo conventions, hand-poke tattooing, and what we've learned in lockdown. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are the traditional custodians of this land that was stolen and never ceded. I am honoured and grateful to be on the ancestral land of the Awabakal people, and I pay my respect to their elders past and present, and extend that recognition to their descendants. Today I get to chat to one of my dearest friends, the fabulous and talented Amy Unilo. Amy works at Flor Sagrada in Melbourne and does some of the most beautiful and clean ornamental hand-poke tattoos I've ever seen. I even have some myself. I met Amy at a convention a few years back and we eventually got to tattoo each other, and I'm super grateful now to call her my friend. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast, Amy.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
So good. Anyway, hand-poke tattoos, that's your thing. Everyone knows that. How does your style differ from, Tobori or Tomoko or the more traditional or tribal styles of hand-poking?
Well, it's like something that people always ask. It's like generally like probably a question that I get almost every single day, at least once or twice a day. And it's like, it's funny because people say like, so what made you choose like hand poking, or what's the difference with hand poking than like regular tattooing? I feel like, I guess like regular tattooing could mean a lot of different things, but the main thing that I guess what is hand poking in the sense that I do it is it's basically the exact same idea of tattooing with the machine, apart from you take that whole element of the machine out of there. So it's just tattooing by hand. You still use the same needles as you would with a machine, same idea. It's just a lot more slowed down, and the motion of like piercing the skin is it's done by hand in a repetitive motion.
Yeah, it's definitely less trauma on the skin as well. Like the ones you did on my thumbs, there's absolutely no bleed out or drop out whatsoever, and the heal was so easy.
Yeah, I find because the technique is a lot less intense on the skin, it definitely creates like a lot less inflammation around the tattoo. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into hand poking, but definitely the method allows like a lot less intense experience.
Yeah, it's definitely more relaxing. Like when you did the ones on my tragus, I barely like felt it. It was just kind of a really relaxing and soft experience.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to know how it like hand poking feels on the face, because I'm like, ooh, I think I'm gonna like it. Like that's something that I want to experience myself. Would be cool.
Yeah. Well, what brought you to the style in the first place? Because you did a normal apprenticeship, but what was the choice that why did you choose hand poking rather than machine in your apprenticeship?
Well, it's kind of strange how it all came about. Like, I don't think I ever sat down for like a moment and was like, I'm going to tattoo, and I'm going to tattoo in this way, and this is the way I'm going to do it. It kind of all happened like quite organically, and almost as if like how it was meant to be. Like me and hand poking always kind of like went hand in hand. Like my first ever experience of it, it's actually like really funny. I was like 18, and I was hanging out at like a friend's house, and we were like, we're punks. Like, let's pierce each other. Let's get these like safety pins and put them through our noses. And I remember one of my friends, she was like, I tattooed myself the other day. Like, do you want me to show you how it's done? And I was like, hell yes, I do. Like, that sounds so badass. And there was something so cool about a friend of mine, like being able to like mark me in such a simple way, you know? So from then on, really, like, she did one on me and then I did one on myself, and we had like ciggies in our mouth and we were like swigging whiskey at the same time. I was like, I love this. Really, from then on, it just kind of stuck with me. It was something that I was always kind of like, not from a sense that I don't want to go and get tattooed by a machine, because I did that a lot anyway. Like, I loved getting tattooed when I was younger, but this was like, I guess it was my way of like being able to like literally use my hands and use some other equipment and like tattoo that way. And I guess like the journey that led me to Australia and like led me to Melbourne and kind of like put me where I was in a place to kind of do an apprenticeship, it was all surrounded around hand poking. And I remember before I even like thought about getting an apprenticeship, I didn't even think that hand poking was something people did professionally. I thought there was tattooing and there was traditional tribal tattooing, and I just did not think that anyone would ever take like stick and poke seriously enough for it to be a thing.
Yeah, because I guess it was really seen as just a part of like the punk community, or, you know, more, what's the word, like not mainstream.
Like, yeah, it was kind of like anti-establishment, like prison tattoo, DIY, stick and poke, spiritual maybe, like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe if I just didn't realize it at the time, but that when I kind of started professionally, like it wasn't really around as much as I was like aware of in like Melbourne at the time.
Yeah. Well, you were the first person I'd heard of who was a professional tattooer who did their tattoos with like by hand rather than by machine. Like everyone else I was aware of in Australia anyway, only talking about Australia here, like everyone else that I was aware of who was doing stick and poke was doing it at home and hadn't ever done an actual apprenticeship.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong, like obviously like my story kind of comes from that place of like, you know, I found hand poking in a world that wasn't professional. And obviously like I kind of experimented with that on myself, not in a professional environment. And it wasn't until kind of it became aware to me like that there was a few artists in England and Europe and some in America that I kind of started noticing like, whoa, these people are hand poking and they're doing it professionally and they're doing it out of a studio. Like, holy crap, this is something that like can be done, you know?
Like Gary Burns, like so amazing.
Yeah, and like, you know, Grace Neutral, she was probably one of the first hand poke tattooists in a professional environment that I really kind of like followed their career and their work and was like, look at her go, like it's cool, people can do it. Cheers.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of like discussion about what a professional tattooer means. Like, do you have to have done a certain kind of apprenticeship, or, you know, can you just be mentored, or can you just decide to do it? And like, where do you stand on that?
That's always been like a kind of issue that's surrounded me. I was fortunate enough that when I decided that hand poking, tattooing in general was something that I wanted to do professionally, there was no other choice to me than to search out a traditional apprenticeship. And for me, the only way to be able to work within a studio environment was to approach it in that way and kind of like ask around and look for a professional apprenticeship, mainly with the idea that I would be tattooing with machine. So it wasn't until I decided that that was something that I wanted to do, I started looking around for apprenticeships. And like, don't get me wrong, it is not easy. you don't just like fall into it, especially when you're telling people in professional shops that like, yeah, I really want to do hand poke. Like I prefer to really concentrate on that rather than move to machine. Like a lot of people told me to like F off.
It took me like 4 years to get an apprenticeship.
Yeah, it's not easy. And like this, I guess this is the kind of like the wall that I hit, is that because that's the way that I entered the tattoo industry, and I did do a formal apprenticeship, and I was really fortunate enough to work with tattooers that gave time to me and showed me things that, you know, that they would kind of show me everything they knew about tattooing, and then kind of help me almost like turn that into like, how am I going to use that to hand poke? Like no one actually physically sat me down and showed me how to like do a hand poke tattoo. But I guess it's hard because like hand poke and stick and poke tattooing is something that kind of is associated more with a free vibe, you know, like do it at home. Maybe you might not think that you do like a traditional apprenticeship in that sense, but I kind of entered the industry surrounded by a very old school mentality and a very kind of, if you want to be in the industry, this is the way that you get there. And not only from like a perspective of like learning how to tattoo properly, but like learning how to tattoo safely, which is really important to me. But like, I honestly think in the past I've had like quite straightforward views about that, and I kind of really want to acknowledge that like there's not one way to do an apprenticeship.
Absolutely.
And people learn in different ways. I think the old school apprenticeship, in the sense that, you know, the ones that we might have experienced, it's definitely a lot different nowadays, and creating like a safe and like nice environment to learn how to tattoo in is very important. But I also think it's so super important to do it in a studio environment, because that way you'll really learn how to do it safely.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people have entered the industry like without the traditional kind of sense of it, but I guess, I mean, I don't know any other way.
Yeah. I feel like it's more prevalent in hand poking to people to just start at home and then suddenly get a job in a studio without having had that training and real understanding of the techniques they're using, and, you know, blood pathogen training, just understanding how to work with clients. And, you know, some of these people might be incredibly talented and bring a lot to tattooing, but it's also detrimental in some ways to the customer, because when you work at a professional studio, the customer assumes that you have had professional training. And I'm the same. Like, I used to be very staunch on my views of there's only one way to enter tattooing and it's this way. And I've changed my mind on that a lot and opened it up to understanding that there are many ways you can enter tattooing. But at the same time, I think you do still need a mentor, someone who is a professional tattooer, to show you, whether it be in a formal or informal capacity, how to tattoo, how to understand the skin, different techniques, and mostly client safety.
Absolutely. Like, there's not been kind of like one person in particular that's been responsible for showing me and teaching me like studio and shop etiquette and safe practice. I've picked that up from working at a few different places with so many different people, and like, I think in the tattoo community, we're fortunate enough to share information with each other and support each other and make suggestions.
Yeah.
I think without that, that's when you really fall into like some kind of trouble, because maybe you assume that you know what you're doing, and without that kind of peer support in a safe environment, you can be making mistakes that you don't even know exist.
Exactly.
You know, so I would have conversations with clients that had been like, oh, you know, well, I got this done by a professional, you know, it was really clean, and don't worry, it was really safe. And it's like, well, like, I'm first and foremost, I'm glad that the client felt safe and happy to do so. But at the same time, like, you know, you as a tattooist, you can kind of like see things in their tattoo that they're talking about, and you're like, you know, you hear about how the setup was and you see the way that the tattoo has been done, and, you know, it wasn't done by a person with professional training, but that's not important to some people. I guess it's always been important to me.
Yeah, same. And I think for me, as soon as someone takes money for that service, that's when it crosses the line. Like, you know, I mean, we've all done things that we shouldn't have done when we started out. You know, we've all had rocky backgrounds or whatever, especially, you know, kind of 10, 20 years ago, people coming into it. You know, it's a very different world. But yeah, if client safety and people's health isn't our first priority, we really need to rethink whether we're in it for the right reasons as well, because it's a huge responsibility. And, you know, there's a huge difference between somebody tattooing themselves at home for fun and them taking money and taking clients and pretending they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's where we kind of like run into trouble sometimes with the idea of what hand poke tattooing is. It's also like referred to a lot of the time as stick and poke, which also, you know, like upon like searching the internet what that might mean, it definitely means a lot to different people. I mean, like, I don't want to be the one that kind of says what hand poking or what stick and poke tattoo is. Like, some people love the element that it's like unregulated and it's kind of got a little bit more freedom in it because you don't have to stick to the kind of guidelines of machine tattooing. But for me, kind of as soon as I decided that it was going to be something that I provide to the public and to clients, it's really important always, and it always has been for me, to be able to do it properly, I guess. Like, I guess, like, what's the proper way to do it? But I've kind of been like raised up through like this kind of very professional surroundings in the industry, and maybe it's sometimes been to my detriment. Like, there's like a sense of like a hand poke community and also a tattoo community, and I've never really like found a place in between the two. I don't feel like I've ever really been accepted into one or the other, and I guess like that I could say the same if I'm trying to say like what's professional and what's not. Like, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit more fluid than just being like, meow, meow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it must be hard kind of being between the two worlds. Like, you know, tattooers who use machines being like, you're not a real tattooer because you don't use machines, even though we only started using machines when electricity came along. And then like, yeah, the hand poke community saying, oh, you work in a shop, you call yourself professional, you're not, you know, DIY enough for us. Like, it's really, that's a hard balance.
I've always felt like, especially when I started tattooing professionally, there was really like very, very few other like professional hand poke artists that I knew of in Australia. So it was always hard kind of feeling like I always felt like a bit of an outsider, like I wasn't kind of included in the tattoo community because, you know, everybody in the shop would be talking about like techniques with machine, or, you know, there's Amy, she's just doing her silly little hand pokes, like, when are you going to pick a machine up, you know? And then when hand pokes started becoming really popular, I was kind of taught by my peers to like kind of rage out against that because they hadn't done professional apprenticeships like I had. So that then segregated me from the hand poke community, which I kind of longed for the whole time that I've been studying professionally. And it hasn't really been until the last few years when I've met a lot of tattooers like yourself, and when I kind of got involved with not just a girl, that I was like, oh, whoa, okay, like now tattooers are kind of accepting me, but I'm still not accepted in, I don't know, I've always kind of been a bit of a floater in that sense. But
that's
definitely,
so typical.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say that's so typical of that toxic side of tattooing, that we create cliques and then we set them against each other. Like, it's just like I remember working in a studio in Newcastle where it wasn't particularly pleasant, but I remember when I was trying to reach out to other artists, they were like, why would you talk to them? They are your competition. You should hate them. And you see that recurring in tattooing, like, you know, oh, girls can't work together because they're too much drama. They don't get along. They'll hate each other. And then, yeah, like machine tattooers against hand pokers. And there's a lot of hate.
I had a client come to me months and months ago, and they told me that they'd walked into like a local shop and, you know, just to have a look, have a walk in, maybe fun little tattoo. And they'd had a hand poke tattoo by me previously. And they said to the receptionist, like, oh, do you have any hand poke artists here? Like, I've had one of those before and I'd really like another one. And they like replied with, oh, we don't acknowledge that as a professional form of tattooing. So no, we don't do it at this shop. And I was just like, man, that sucks, because like I put so much time and energy into kind of like creating that professional element to what I do, that it's like, oh, okay, everyone's not keen on it yet. That's okay.
How can you not recognize something that's a part of your own history?
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea who the person was that said that. I was just like, oh, okay, well, come and get one from me again, I guess. Like, yeah.
That's so mad to me. Like, all tattooing in every single culture has started as a hand poke form of tattooing.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is it's again, it's kind of like that divide between like what is what, and I don't think that we need to really kind of label it like that. Like, I don't think that like machine tattooers should label hand poke as non-professional, but I also think that like maybe professional hand poke tattooers should not label like stick and poke as, you know, like, as I mean, like, as long as somebody's doing it in a studio, like in a safe environment, and they've taken the time to kind of educate themselves with safe practice, and, you know, it's all healthy. I feel like, who am I to say what is and what isn't, what should be? And I can't get mad when other people say the same about me, but I think I've been super lucky in that, like, I've managed to work with a lot of people that do acknowledge what I do and do make me feel very welcome in tattooing now. And like, to the point where like even tattooers want to get tattoos from me. Like, that means the world, that like that's kind of like being accepted, that my work is like, okay.
That's the best feeling, when a tattooer books in with you.
It's so excited about it, but at the same time I'm like, F off. I'm too nervous. Like, that's scary. Like, when you asked to get tattooed by me, I was like, heart attack city. Like, I just can't deal with it. But somehow I managed to get through.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have a little bit of a panic attack in the bathroom beforehand. I don't know, you come at it shaking, like, oh my God, I hope I settle down but before I finish this tattoo.
I literally, like, before I tattoo anyone, I have to have like a little like powwow in the like toilet. Like, yeah, I've got this. I remember like my apprentice, every time the door opened, I would run to the toilet. So everybody thought that I was like some kind of like problems, because it was just like my safe place. I don't know, those ones that are the scariest ones are the ones that I seem to just like, something just comes over you and you can just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, talking about being nervous tattooing, you have done so many conventions, and I'm always a nervous wreck at conventions, but I mean, you're like old hat at it now.
I was really, really fortunate in that my first like 4 years of tattooing was very heavily concentrated on the convention circuit not only in Australia, but I was really, really lucky to be able to travel worldwide to do them. And like, don't get me wrong, I still get so nervous, like social anxiety to the max. But I think the more you do, the more you kind of like realize that everyone's in the same boat, and you can kind of like drown out the craziness and the noise around you, because you still have these like really awesome intimate connections of each person that like kind of walks up to your booth. So like, I still get nervous, but it does get easier over time.
It's such a weird experience, like, you know, doing this thing you usually do every day, but having hundreds of people walking past just watching you. It's why do we do it?
I don't know. It's crazy too, because I remember going to a convention before I was a tattooer and walking around, and I was looking at all these artists being like, whoa, like this is so cool. Like, can you imagine being able to do this one day? So I think every convention that I do now, I have like a moment of gratitude, being like, man, I'm so like stoked that I'm like here and this is where I wanted to be. It's cool. It's definitely a perk of my job for sure.
Yeah. I think the best bit of conventions is just the socializing with other tattooers and the friends you make, like I met you at a convention and now you're one of my best friends. And you can make some really amazing connections there.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of the time, the things that I say to other people at conventions, I'm like, did I just like, I went to like shake their hand and high five them at the same time. And I was like, hey, I get like so like doofusy in these like interactions, especially with tattoo artists that I admire and look up to. I'm literally like a gibbering like mess. Like I was probably saying dumb stuff when we met, but at certain conventions that I've been to, the effort that other tattooers make to make connections with you is just like, it's so cool. And a really great thing about it is meeting other artists, especially within like our female community. Like we're always checking in with each other at conventions.
Yeah.
And it's really cute.
It is. Yeah, I know what you mean by going goofy though. Like my husband says that whenever he can see me talking to like another tattooer at the convention, that I've got like T-Rex arms happening where I'm like holding my hands up to my chest because I'm so nervous and don't know what to do with them.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, literally my biggest thing is I would walk around with this like kind of Stepford Wives smile on my face, like, hello. Oh, nice to meet you. What are you doing? Have you been busy? Oh.
It's like the cool. Same three questions too.
Yeah, always on repeat, like all weekend. It's so cool because then like the way that conventions are set up and each person has their own booth to kind of show their own self in that small area, it really like sparks conversation between you and other artists, and you buy prints and you buy like merchandise, and it really kind of like helps you bond really quickly. Especially because at conventions people are like, what are you doing? What is that? Where's your machine? Is that all you packed? You just have those few, like, what the F?
You have like the smallest convention bag ever.
I do. It's a very fortunate thing about hand poking is that I do not carry a lot of equipment. This is very good for traveling.
You can easily get through customs.
This is true. Yeah. We were like, paddle chopsticks? Yes.
Yeah. Well, we have a few conventions hopefully planned for like ourselves, and you know, we've already been planning how we're going to deck out our booth to be amazing if these conventions ever happen.
I know. I mean, like travel is a bit of a strange thing right now, but definitely the conventions that I want to attend are they're everywhere. They're all around the world, and it's just that kind of we didn't realize how lucky that we had it when we had the ability to travel as much as we did, do some really great, really, really great conventions put on by really great people. I look forward to when we can do them again.
Yeah. What have been your favorite conventions so far?
Oh man. I would say experience-wise, I was really lucky to attend the first ever South African tattoo convention. And what was incredible about that was the organisers. It was kind of more like family run. The organisers put in so much work to kind of have all of these international artists come together in such a magical place, but also make us feel so welcome and really showcase their country and their culture to us and help us bond and put on this. It was just such an incredible time. There was so many cool tattooers there and we got to do some cool stuff. So the kind of close connection of that one was really fabulous. The same for there's one that I attend often, which is the New Zealand Tattoo Convention. Again, just like run by people that really care about tattooing, really care about not only making their artists comfortable, but they really, really like include the public in what happens. And just a general vibe is more like everyone's welcome. Let's all be friends. Let's hang out. It's so fun.
It's so lovely at the New Zealand one how they pay tribute to like the local customs and traditions by putting on the welcome to country. I don't know what haka is it?
The haka, yeah.
Yeah, it's so the beautiful.
Welcome. Mm-hmm. And it's totally respectful of the town and the country that it's held in, and having like so many artists come from around the world, and it's a small town and everyone's so welcoming. They're so keen to show you about their like history and their country. It's so fab. It's really cool.
It's awesome. I can't wait till the next one. And I think the thing I love about it is, and it's a huge difference between the Australian conventions and the New Zealand or other international ones I've seen, like where it is actually focused on tattoo art specifically, and they don't use women's bodies to sell their merchandise. We're not objectified, and in Australia it's very, very disappointing how, from my personal experience, how I've been treated at conventions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I think it has been acknowledged in the past that maybe some of the kind of entertainment and advertising aspects of Australian conventions might have been a little bit more concentrated on exploitation of women's bodies and sexuality in tattooing. And I think a lot of female tattooers had kind of spoken up about maybe like, in advertisements, maybe show us tattooing rather than walking a catwalk.
Yeah.
But, I definitely understand that you need to provide a certain element of entertainment maybe for the general public coming to a tattoo show. But I think it's also really important that it's all inclusive in that sense, and the entertainment isn't more of like a physical representation of what tattooing is, and more kind of like, let's include everybody and make it about the art.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's advertised as a family-friendly event. Make it family-friendly, like, instead of, burlesque. And now I have absolutely no problem with burlesque, pole dancers, anything like that. I absolutely love that stuff, but I also love it in the correct venue. At lunchtime at a family-friendly event, a little child's not going to understand what they're seeing, and that removes the parents' ability to censor what their children are seeing and introduce them to it at an appropriate time. And that, and the way that they went about it, like my last convention, I was hearing things like her tits are going to set you on fire over the loudspeaker, and I'm just like, I'm a I'm a woman and I'm sitting here trying to do a tattoo and I'm hearing stuff like that, and that makes me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. And, you know, when I've gone to Literary Ink or New Zealand, for example, I haven't had that at all. I feel very much just another tattooer. You know, I'm not separate at all.
That's quite shocking to hear. Like, I guess that I would say that's the main difference, maybe the entertainment that's provided during the conventions compared to ones that I've been to before. Definitely, I really haven't really attended an Australian convention in a short while, but
same, yeah, it's been about 3 years.
Yeah, acknowledge that they've been kind of making some changes within how that kind of worked and what kind of entertainment was supplied, but it was just a different vibe. It was kind of like, this is the way that it is, and this is one set way, and this is how it's going to be. And yeah, sometimes it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, it sucks not being heard and included in tattooing. And yeah, like, I think things are starting to change, though. There are people who are actually making more effort. Like, I haven't been there yet, but I've heard that the Wellington Convention, again in New Zealand, like that they're actually actively striving for more equality and, you know, and diversity in the artists they choose to invite, and having it very artist focused.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's something that I've definitely found at a lot of conventions that I've been to, is the artists attending, super diverse, really cool. So many different people traveling from not only within that country, but internationally as well. And it's this kind of magical boiling pot of lots of tattooists coming together and sharing experiences and techniques and ideas. It's really cool.
It's so good. I feel like, you know, all of the bullshit aside, the way that it's marketed, the entertainment, I think the money-making side of it, the stuff that the business people involved do, I think that aside, the actual act of a whole bunch of tattooers coming together and, you know, doing tattoos and talking to each other and sharing, you know, their skills and their ideas, that is like absolutely magical. And that's, you know, hopefully something we can continue to do.
At the end of the day, I think what's important is that the tattooists attending conventions feel comfortable and included, the clients attending tattoo conventions feel comfortable and included, and the families attending, and you know, a lot of hard work goes into putting these things together. I've seen it firsthand, and there's a lot of different ideas and a lot of different people that want certain things. Everyone's got different ideas of how they want it done, but at the end of the day, having that space for everyone to come together, I think is really cool and important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can put aside all of the fighting and focus on safety and comfort, and then everything's good.
You'd hope so.
Yeah. 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 It'll be interesting to see what conventions are like now, you know, with social distancing and all of these other things that we don't know how long are going to be a part of our society for. It. I wonder how it'll change the way that people attend conventions and interact with artists.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are going to change. Especially, you can look back and be like, man, like we had it real good for a while there. But I guess if this has given us anything, it's a chance to maybe shake things up and have a look at the way we do things and move forward for the better, I hope. And hopefully we can kind of get back to that convention lifestyle at some point. Travel again,
hopefully.
be really nice.
Well, talking about like
a couple drinks.
Yes. Well, talking about like, you know, changing things up and looking at the way you do things, you know, that's something that we've talked about a lot over the lockdown period, just like how this event has changed our perspective. And what has isolation taught you?
Honestly, I feel really awful that it's a terrible thing that's happened, and there's a lot of like bad things to come out of it. I personally, for me, I found the time really, really good for me. Really just having like the chance, like when you put all of your life into something and all of your energy and time into something that you love so much, having that taken away from you is like terrifying. And it was something that I feared in more ways than one, if I was going to have certain things taken away from me. And yeah, I mean, like having the time to stop, like not go to work every day and just kind of like take a moment to step back from tattooing and think like, whoa, what's going on? I found it actually like, yeah, really refreshing, really good time to just kind of reassess kind of what's important in life and what you care about and what you can do with your time and energy. So I've found it like quite good for the old mental health.
Yeah. And you know, you're a Brit in Australia, so you've had like no support from the government. So you've, you know, to be so positive and to get through with no help and not being able to, you know, see your family and all that, like that's amazing that you've had such a positive outlook.
Yeah, well, I'm like fortunate and privileged enough to have a really good support network around me. And, you know, like I've found the time to use my creativity to support myself during the time. I also like really had to like take a step back from creativity for a while as well, and just kind of think about things that are actually, you know, like if tattooing isn't all of my life and all consuming, what is it that I care about?
Yeah. And that's not a question we would ask ourselves very often, like what else is there and what other ways can I contribute?
Well, that was the big thing for me. Like at first I was like, I'm going to do so many things. Like I got really creative. I had a really great time experimenting with painting and making art to kind of make prints. But kind of when all that slowed down, I really wanted to stop and think like, I don't currently feel like I'm contributing anything to my community. And I do think that like our day as a tattooer really does kind of benefit people in a lot of ways. But when you don't have that, I was like, yeah, what can I do to kind of help? What would I want to do if I didn't do this? And I guess it kind of all kind of came back around to that whole, like, I really want to be able to help people in life, like, and contribute in ways that like I hadn't really thought about before. And I guess like one kind of like something that's like really close to my heart and something that I really like discovered was important to me is I want to kind of, when I get the chance, take a little bit of a step away from tattooing and concentrate more on maybe counseling. That's particularly awesome. Particularly within family violence. Yeah. And just, you know, like this kind of thing, it's always there, it's always happening, it doesn't stop. And even during a crisis like what happened, like charities still need help, people still need volunteers. So I really kind of decided that's something that I want to kind of work towards a career within at some point.
That's brilliant. And it's really good that you've allowed this time to reflect on that and like discover that desire in yourself, because, you know, people are experiencing, you know, domestic violence in their home at alarming rates in lockdown. It's been really devastating, and, you know, there's not enough help for people in those situations. So the more people like yourself who actually genuinely care and want to help who are out there, the better the world's going to be.
Yeah, just like anything that you can do, really. I kind of like looked into doing some volunteer work during this time. Like I didn't feel like I was doing a lot myself. So like I found it was important to educate myself with ways to find out how you can help in the future. And there's lots of really good organizations that I kind of looked into that you can volunteer with, you can work for, you can help out at. Yeah, it was cool. I just never had like a chance in my life to kind of stop and think, what would I do if I wasn't tattooing? So it was, I found like in those times of reflection, I was just like, what else do I care about? Yeah.
It makes sense as well, because I feel like as a tattooer, we do tend to have a well-developed empathy. We have to like really care about our customers, and well, not have to, we do care about our customers and, keep them safe and, ease them through what's a painful process. So it makes sense that empathy can translate into other careers and other options. And, I feel like those two things can work well together as well, like, kind of trauma and tattooing.
100%. I would say, honestly, for me, one of the main things about my practice is I love to make people feel comfortable. It's like one of the most important things that I do, that the minute a client walks through the door and comes and sits in my space and kind of like trusts me to put their body in a vulnerable position, it is like my number one to make people feel happy and comfortable and feel like they can talk about anything. And I didn't realize that how much of a massive part of like my job that is, and how important it is. And I guess I've always just like found that I can talk to people really well. And like, it makes me feel good when people say that they had a nice experience because I managed to make them feel comfortable. And that will never change for me. That's something that like, it's always so important. And it's crazy that you find how as soon as your client's comfortable, like they almost start to open up to you, and they find a lot of therapy within that tattoo session as well. So it's kind of something that I'm already quite active daily in doing. Like I just want people to feel like they can tell me that they're feeling okay, that they're comfortable while they're getting tattooed. They can talk to me if they want to. It's one of the most like magical parts of what we do, I think, is those intimate moments with people, seeing somebody kind of like come into your space and just feel completely at ease for you to, mark their body.
Yeah. It takes a lot of trust for sure. And, you're always so amazing with your clients. Like whenever I've seen you working here at my studio, whenever I've been visiting Flor, you're so welcoming and so kind to them. And you can see that like they leave happy and they leave like really loving their tattoo.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's like a trust that people put in you, and you don't want to take that for granted for a second. And I want them to know that how thankful I am that they've trusted me to tattoo them. So if we can have a chat, if we can have a laugh, if we can have a really positive experience, then that to me is like, hopefully they're going to walk away loving the tattoo that they have aesthetically, but also walk away loving the experience that they had personally. And I'm really lucky in that I get a lot of people kind of come back to me for that reason, being like, it was nice, I felt good, we had a good time, I like what I got. Like tattooing doesn't have to be this scary, painful experience. It can be actually really lovely.
Yeah. And I'd love for our listeners to know that as well, that, if you're ever in a situation where you don't feel safe getting tattooed, you can leave. Like you should not ever feel unsafe. You should not ever feel uncomfortable or unwelcome. Like, and you have a right to walk away as well. Like, nobody ever has a right to treat you badly, and you're paying for a luxury service, and that comes with certain behaviors. And I would like to mention, if it's okay, Amy, there's been a lot of talk in the last few days about some things going on in tattooing with the Tattoo Me Too movement. And I want to use this platform while I've got it to ask tattooers to look after their clients and to look after each other. It's really unfair that we ask victims to be the ones to speak out and to talk about these situations, because it's re-traumatizing for them, and it's very unfair. But, you know, as tattooers, we should be keeping an eye on things in the studio. And if we see another artist or a client behaving in a way that's inappropriate, we need to put a stop to it. We need to call it out. We need to fire artists who misbehave. You know, we are the ones with the power in this situation, and we can affect change in the industry to make it better so that, you know, there's more tattooers like Amy, for example, who do treat her artists with her clients with respect.
It's super, yeah. So many people have talked about maybe some experiences that they might have had in a tattoo shop where, and this is talking like it happened a while ago and it still happens today, where clients have felt uncomfortable to maybe speak up about something that they haven't felt 100% comfortable with. And I know that, like, I'm fortunate enough to work with people that are very conscious about clients' comfort and safety, and be surrounded by tattooists that do respect everybody. But yeah, if anyone would ever feel uncomfortable or, you know, not happy with a situation they're in a tattoo shop, it's totally the time to, like, speak up and say something, client or artist. Like, no one should feel comfortable.
And you're right about being conscious, because, you know, we do have the power in this situation and a lot of people feel awkward. I know that before I was a tattooer, I've been in situations where I wasn't happy with the design, I wasn't happy with the situation, but I got the tattoo anyway. Because, and even actually since being a tattooer, that still happened to me, you know, because they have this power over you. So we need to learn to be conscious of our clients' reactions to us, and to, you know, endeavor to get consent for everything, and to just do our best. Like, you know, no one's perfect, you know, we're all learning, but as long as we're at least trying, I think, you know, it can really improve things for everybody.
100%. Never assume that your client, just because they're there, are comfortable. I think it's important to always ask consent, even before you start to draw on skin, before you start to hold their body in a certain way to put a stencil on. Like, it's, you can sense, you can get a sense for when people feel at ease, but it's always important to ask as well.
Yeah, even little things like the photograph, you know, if it's something that you would maybe feel a bit self-conscious having that photograph on the internet, just check with them first. Like, you know, are you comfortable with this photo being posted?
Absolutely. I'm quite lucky in the sense that a lot of my female clients feel comfortable enough for me to tattoo fairly in this, and, you know, taking a photo as like an artist, you know, you kind of want to record your work for personal kind of prep, you know, have a kind of record what you've done, but you've got to remember that's not just like a piece of paper. That's your artwork on a person's body, and that person, you know, has the right to say what they do and don't want kind of like photographed or recorded. But I mean, I'm really grateful that people feel comfortable enough with me to have me tattoo certain body parts, and always important to check if they're happy, if you want to take a photo.
Exactly. And there's always like a way you can make the photos, you know, more comfortable for the customer. Like, I did some really cute spider webs like under a girl's butt cheeks. And, you know, she wasn't very comfortable with having her butt exposed. So we just like draped the fabric of her skirt around so you couldn't see any of her butt, but you could still see the spider webs. And it was like, yep, that's good to go. I don't care if anyone else likes the photo or not. She likes it.
Yeah, gorgeous. I remember when I guested at FLT, actually, you guys have really beautiful like floral shaped nipple covers. And everyone was like, oh, I'm going to keep some of these for like fashion afterwards. This is fab.
I know, I felt bad that sometimes you see, you know, when people are getting their sternum tattoo and they've got stickers over their nipples, and I'm like, that would be so uncomfortable. So I'm going to get a proper pasty. It's got the correct adhesive. It's got the little cover.
Yeah, the old rip off afterwards would be a bit of a situation.
Oh, that's funny. Well, we've had a good chat. It's been awesome. Is there anything we missed, or is there anything you wanted to share with our listeners?
I mean, not particularly. I feel like we've been on the phone for like 10 minutes. Like normally we just like chat hours and hours and hours about everything tattoo.
I'm pretty sure one night we talked for like 4 hours.
My face hurts after I talk to you sometimes because I'm like laughing or smiling the whole time or like dreaming about something. It's funny. It's like, oh, we're going to do a podcast, but it's just going to be like talking to each other on the phone. But then like as soon as the whole camera thing happened, I was like, I'm going to be weird.
My little T-Rex arms. Yeah.
Hello. Have you been busy?
I know. I get instantly nervous.
Yeah. I just freak out. I guess I'm just like really grateful to have been given a platform to talk about a bunch of different things. The chance to be able to talk about tattooing. Sorry, interruption from the phone call. I was basically just saying that I'm very grateful to have had a platform to talk about tattooing mainly. If anyone's ever interested in learning anything about what hand poke is, I'm always happy to share the knowledge that I have. Like I said, I'm kind of like I'm not the one to say what is or what isn't to be expected of hand poking, but I can definitely talk professional hand poking. And it's really cool to be involved in something that allows us to have a bit of a chat and a voice in the industry, and I'm truly grateful.
Oh, thank you so much for being a part of it. It's been the best the last few weeks, just talking to all like you amazing artists, and I've learned a great deal. And, you know, as much as I'm certainly not a professional interviewer, it's been really great just to have lovely conversations about all the best bits of tattooing.
Yeah, it's been so fun. I've been listening to the ones that have been released so far, and just like it's literally just like listening to your friends chat, hearing people's really cool stuff. Like, oh, cool, yeah. Like I like talk about that all the time with Eddy, and it's really nice to hear what everyone else is up to. And I mean, like in the past year or two within tattooing, I've just met so many amazing people, and I feel just like so lucky to kind of. It might not have been the place that I thought that I would be included in, but I'm so like lucky to have finally found a support network within tattooing, and a very inclusive kind of welcoming community of people in tattooing. And
yeah,
I feel like finally like I have a home. It's really nice.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. It feels at home having that happy little community that we have.
Yeah, we're very fortunate.
Well, for our listeners, you can find the footage of this chat on YouTube with English subtitles. You can follow us on Instagram at notjustagirl_tattoo for regular updates. You can also find lots of other information on the blog. I'll link everything in the show notes. And be sure to give Amy a follow and send her lots of love because she's amazing and she deserves it. Thank you so much, Amy, for chatting to me today. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. We really appreciate you. And I hope everyone has a fabulous day and remembers to fuck the patriarchy.
Ah, yes!